Hey everybody, what's up? Alec Torelli here for an episode of Ask Alec. I'm really excited to share this one with you guys. If you recently watched my video, Playing Poker with a Gambling Problem, this is the man. This is the protagonist. He was here and he has an amazing life update to share with you guys. So in this episode, we are going to get into what to do after you've had, well, I don't want to spoil it, but we're going to get into bankroll management, some poker goals, and even some playing poker, some tournaments, some final table strategy. A lot to cover in this episode. Curtis, man, tell us what's up. For those that haven't seen the last episode, which I'm going to link below here, Playing Poker with a Gambling Problem, give us the 30-second rundown of where you were at the last time we talked, what's happened in your life since then, and what you're kind of up to right now.
Last time I talked to you, I was at a pretty low point in my life. I was pretty much dead broke. I was debating on selling my car and moving to Vegas, and that's what we discussed. And I still have my car now. I was going to sell it for like 10 or 11,000 and move out there and try to play cards. And I decided against it after we talked about it. It was just too much risk.
Yep.
And my friend staked me in a tournament, and I drove up from Florida to Cherokee to play in the main event in Cherokee, and I cashed in that. I got 78th place for 3,700, so I won $1,000 off that. And then I played a tournament. I went back to my home in West Virginia, and I played a tournament in Columbus the following weekend, and I got first place for $47,000 after taxes.
That's incredible. That's amazing.
It's just like it was meant to be. I busted my first buy-in, and I rebought for the last $550 in my pocket. I had like
that's crazy.
$1,000 in my name, which is, again, terrible bankroll management. But I ran well, I played well, and obviously things have to go right. You have to win flips in order to win the tournament. And to follow that up, I just made another final table in Tampa this weekend where I went out ninth, and that was pretty painful. But since I've talked to you, I've made about $58,000 in May, and I had about $50 to my name 2 months ago. So God is good. I'm blessed. I've worked hard on my game. I've always studied. We talked about how much I study poker, studied your content, Crush Live Poker, all of that, just trying to get better. And it's big for my parents to finally, they finally realize, like, okay, my son's not a dumbass. He actually does know what he's doing a little bit. But it's just a lot of stress off of me. And
totally.
It's going to be a big summer because I'm going to play more tournaments. I like where my game's at. And I want to play the main event. That was my goal last time I talked to you. I was going to satellite into the main, hopefully. But that was kind of a long shot, and now I kind of have an opportunity to do that. And I even thought about buying into it, but we'll see.
So, yeah, I think that's a great segue. So what are you kind of like, I'm getting a feeling that you're kind of like wondering what to do now with this new 50K. Like, where do you go from here? Is that kind of what you wanted to go over?
Yeah, it's just I'm playing cash games. I'm still playing 1-3. I don't want to jump into 5-10 or do any dumb shit like that. I'm still trying to
you.
Low. But I don't really play poker. I just sit back and catch punts. I just play super tight, and eventually they'll punt off their stack. Making money is a lot about game selection. So I'm trying to pick the best games down here in Florida. I'm in like West Florida.
Yep.
And,
been there.
I want to play tournaments, but I understand how tournaments are. The first 10 tournaments I played this year, I didn't cash any of them.
That's totally possible.
Yeah, it's totally possible. There's a lot of variance, so I certainly don't want to lose my role playing a bunch of 1,500 events.
Yeah, that's the dumbest thing you can do.
Yeah, so I want to try to see if I can satellite into the main event. I love the structure. 2-hour levels. You start with 50K.
Yeah, totally.
The tournament I played this weekend was kind of a joke. We started with 12,000, and it was like a super turbo.
Yeah. So
not much skill.
Let's talk about some like other things to do. Like, if I could go back to, how old are you? 24?
27.
27. Okay. So I'm not going back that far, but I don't think it's more about, it's about age. I'm only 31, but it's not as much about age as it is about where you are in your poker journey. And if I could go back to when I was in your spot, which I've been, I started my journey younger. So I was 18, 19 when I had my first big win like that. I was in Aruba. I was in college at the time. I skipped semester break I ditched school for like a week during semester break to go out to Aruba to the World Poker Tour. I came in 8th. I got 42,000 or something like that. And I was basically in the exact same spot as you, where I had my whole future ahead of me and I had this new bankroll. And I'm going back in that moment in time right now in my career and saying, what things would I do differently? What did I do well? And like, if I could just do it over again, how would I play that hand perfectly? And so the first thing I would do, like the very, very first thing I would do, is I would take, you have 50,000 roll. I would conservatively take 10,000, and immediately put it into, I would max out my Roth IRA. So it's a retirement account that you could put 5,500 in per year. And I would max that out and put that in for retirement. And I would do that. I'd put 5,500 in there this year. And because that's the maximum, I would put 5,500 in like a SEP IRA or another 401k, like a retirement account that you can't touch. And that's
going to build interest.
Yeah, that's going to compound over time. You're 27 now. When you're 67, that's going to be worth 5 or 10x, whatever the compounding rate is, depending on annualized returns. But that's going to be worth a lot more than it is now. And I would commit to making that a habit. So to save money over time, because that's how you're going to be rich. And one day you're going to wake up and not want to have to play poker. You're going to want to play poker. And that money is going to give you options to do whatever you want in your life. So like in terms of making good decisions and giving yourself freedom and options, that's the most important thing you could do. So if you hang up the phone right now and just like, fuck it, do that. And that's the best advice I have for anyone watching or for you or anyone in your spot that has a lot of money at a young age. Or any age. I mean, the best time to invest is 10 years ago. The second best time to invest is today. So please, please, please do that. That's like the number one thing you could do. So mentally treat your bankroll like it's 20% less than it is. I would take at least 10,000. If you can take 20,000, that's even better. Like that would be a better spot because you're only playing 1-3 no limit now. Or even if you do play 2-5, you have enough money to play that regardless of whether you take 10 or 20 off the table. Mm-hmm. And so you might regret playing poker and losing with the money you have. You're not going to regret playing and saving and taking longer for you to get to the 5-10 level because you put 10, 20,000 aside. Mm-hmm. You're never going to regret that decision when you're 57. You might regret punting away $50,000 if that happens. You also have to know yourself. I talk a lot about self-awareness in poker. You have to know that your weakness, you have a lot of strengths, right? You're obviously good at poker. You have a lot of strengths. You work hard, you study hard, you're disciplined. You want this really badly, but you have to know that your kryptonite is bankroll management. So betting against your weaknesses is the best way to make your strength, bring your weaknesses up from like a 2 to a 6 just by doing something that treats yourself like, someone that has those weaknesses that you have. Mm-hmm. So that would be the best piece of advice I have, because that way your biggest strength, your biggest weakness just became not necessarily a strength, but it just became mitigated by your actions. And that's a simple action you could take literally in 2 hours. You could do all that work. Call Schwab, open a Roth IRA, max it out, put the rest of the money in a retirement account, and don't touch it till you're 60. Second thing I would do is I love that you're playing 1-3 and that you're patient. Like that's a sign of maturity that I've seen in you that you didn't have the last time we talked. Like the Curtis I knew last time would have jumped straight up into 10-20. And you kind of know that too. Like you would have done that. Now I feel like something stuck in that talk and you're really like, you're being really patient and mature and responsible with your bankroll. So I'm really proud of you for that. I think that's great news. And I definitely would keep on that path. Like there is no rush to move up to 2-5 or 5-10. You could wait 2, 3, 4 months. Time is on your side, right? You're no rush. The one thing you don't want to do is bust this roll. So I like that you're not moving up to 2-5 or 5-10. I would move up to 2-5 before I played bigger tournaments. So I'd like to see your tournament buy-ins staying around 300 to 500. And if you want to play a 1500, sell 1,000 of action or get staked. You should be able to get some good selling action or staking given your resume. And I would encourage you to keep your exposure as low as possible in tournaments, and then use the money to play cash games in the 2-5 level that you know you can beat. You just print the money. And then you replenish your tournament bankroll with the money you win in cash games.
Yeah. About selling action, like, how do I go about that? Do I sell myself for a little bit more? Like, say it's a $1,000 buy, and say somebody buys 500 of my action, they get 25%, or?
Yeah, I mean, you could sell it more. Like, I don't think there's anything like morally wrong with it. It's just like you have to also weigh the value of that relationship versus what you're gaining from. I mean, this is a very just straight up practical way to look at it, but it's like, what are you really gaining by selling at a markup? Like, let's say you sell 25% for 250, you sell at a 10% markup. What are you going to get? Like 300? Like you're gonna like put a sting in an investor's mouth for like $50. Like, I rather build the relationship, look at it long term, and say, like, I need this person's money as much as they need mine. Like, I don't really gain that much by selling at a markup, whereas I gain a lot by building trust with this investor and building a relationship with them where now they want to take pieces of me all the time, and I can just play. I can have access to any tournament I want. And like, that's just a good way of looking at it long term. Give more than you get. But long term, net, even though you're giving up some equity, like, what are you giving up? Like $100 per tournament? It's like, it's not going to change your life. It's just not worth. It's just not worth the negotiating.
Right. I was staked in a tournament last year and I won it, and I had to give the guy $6,000, and that was kind of painful.
Yeah.
I don't have a relationship with him anymore. But
you wouldn't have won it if you couldn't play it, and you couldn't play it without his money.
Exactly. So he did me a big favor, and I mean, I have to deal with the taxes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
My dad's going to help me write a lot of that off. He's a CPA.
Totally. Good for you. And you can do that legally. So it's smart. But, you're taking precautions and, following the legal procedure about that. That's really smart.
In some sick fuck way, I'm kind of more nittier now that I won. Like, I don't know why. I'm just like kind of more tight with my money. And I value money more now than I used to whenever I had like $500 to my name. Like, I'm just trying to be smart. I don't want to go broke. I deposited $15,000 in my Chase savings account, opened an account with Chase, $15,000 in a checking account with Chase. And they're still not letting me get a credit card. I want a credit card to build my credit, and they're still not letting me do that.
Also to write off expenses.
Do what?
Write off expenses.
Write off expenses?
Yeah. So like your travel is a write-off against your playing or your earnings, and so you can write that off when you have a credit card.
Right. Okay. Hotel and all that.
Right. Totally.
Gas. And then I deposited another $10K in my other BB&T account, and I don't need $10,000 to play 1-3. I mean, 2,000, 3,000. If I could go back, what hindered my growth was losing 1,700, losing $1,000, and winning 300. Winning 300 7 times and losing 1,000 when I lose.
Yeah.
So if I have a stop loss, I can't really,
Totally. And that's the thing. It's like, it's easy to do everything right when you're winning. It's easy to value money. It's easy to be nitty over $500 because you're like, I'm winning so well. I'm just in this great mental state where I'm making great decisions for small amounts of money because there's nothing tempting you to try and recover the money quickly. So it's easy to kind of be on autopilot with a good decision making. The hard part is when you go from 58,000 to 54,000. Now you have to still care about $300 and not make a bad decision in the 1-3 game. I'm not saying that's definitely, I am saying at some point that is going to happen. You're going to have a downswing of 5 or 7, 3 or 4 or 5,000. You have to know that that's going to happen, and also keep this state of mind while that downswing is happening to go through the motions of making good decisions so that it happens both when you're upswinging and when you're downswinging, because it's just a habit. So one of the things that's really helped me in my career is like my routine on a daily basis is always the same whether I win or lose. So I'm always putting myself in peak performance mode regardless of whether I'm having a good day or a bad day, because I go through the motions. Like, I don't listen to my feelings. I just do what's on my routine list every day to make sure that I'm, in peak performance mode to play my best poker possible. And in the same way, I'd like to see you doing that with your bankroll, where it's like you have these rules you set for yourself and you're just abiding by them regardless. So you're still selling pieces when you're losing. You're still playing 1-3 when you're losing. For you, I feel like a lot of people take shots when they're winning. I feel like you are more likely to take a shot when you're losing. So rewatch this when you have a downswing and make sure that you're just going through the motions until you get the upswing back. And that's definitely going to be your biggest challenge in this process, I think. And that's another reason why I think putting money away ahead of time just preemptively defends against any possible disaster.
Right. I mean,
it's
I
also
can only
just a
get
good
$500
practice
at a time.
Yeah.
So I can't just lose 8,000 if I don't have access to it.
That's smart. You're mitigating against your biggest risks, which I think is really smart. So I think you're on the right path. I would encourage you to play. I know you want to focus on tournaments, and that's fine in terms of time and energy. But in terms of resources, I'd like to see a lot of the resources allocated towards cash games, because that's where you're going to have a more stable increase in your bankroll. Whereas tournaments, you're just subject to so much volatility. Like you said in the beginning, you could go 10 tournaments without cashing. If you're risking 1,000 or 1,500 per tournament, that's a 10 to 15K downswing that you just can't afford right now.
Right.
So I'd like to see the tournaments risked at 300 to 500, and then supplementing with cash games on the side. That way, one tournament buy-in is equal to one cash game buy-in, and you could always basically replenish your tournament bankroll by winning at cash games and free roll in the tournaments.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I understand. I've run hot these last 3 tournaments. I've cashed, but that's not going to happen. You have to stay humble. You have to stay level-headed. I mean, totally. I could have easily lost a flip. Ace king versus queens. If I lose, I don't win the tournament. Just
totally
simple shit. You gotta realize how much variance there is in tournament poker. Stay humble and just keep grinding. But at the same time, I feel like you kind of have to ride out the hot streak.
Yeah, to an extent. You're obviously playing well. Like, everything is going right. I would press while you're winning, and if you ever want to take a shot in 2-5, now's the time. Now's the time to take a shot. Don't take a shot when you're down 7 buy-ins. Something isn't right. It might be how you're playing. It might be your mindset. It might be your focus. But obviously, everything is right now. So if you do want to take a shot in a cash game or a tournament, now's the time to keep playing. And when you do find that you get resistance, meaning you're losing or things are going wrong or you're starting to be off your game, that's the time to take a break. So press while you're winning. And be humble and disciplined and patient while you're losing. That's a formula for success.
Play more while you're winning. Play less while you're losing.
Yeah.
I used to play 2-5 with $700, $400, my last bit of money, and you kind of play scared. You can't really play your game. And with the roll, maybe I can play more of my game, 3-betting spots. I know I should 3-bet instead of
I'd love to see you over-rolled for a game, because that's going to allow you to be more aggressive in spots where you should be, apply pressure where you should be. It's just going to give you leverage to be able to make plays that other people can't afford to make. That's one thing I've always enjoyed in poker, is just playing really comfortably so that I could play 200-300 big blinds deep and be very comfortable in the game. And that's given me a big edge throughout my career in the big games in Vegas and Macau.
I really want to go play on Live at the Bike in California. I love it. I've watched a lot of that. I've watched you on there multiple times, and watching players that are better than me is ultimately going to make me better. And I think I've learned a lot from that.
Totally.
But it's cool to be able to watch yourself. I'm sure you go back and watch yourself, your decisions, your physical actions, if you can pick up any skills.
I watch tape all the time. It's like what great athletes do when they watch football tapes on weekends. They watch the competition. They watch what they're doing. I do study the game very much in that respect, and I think it's a great aspect of playing on television or Live at the Bike. And I'd encourage you to go if you can and get on the show, even if it's just a 5-5 game. It's not only a good learning experience, but it's just a great poker career experience. It's a cool thing to do. At least for me, it was really, it's sort of cool.
Yeah,
was always surreal playing on television.
Really good.
Games are great too. That's sort of ancillary, though. I mean, games are great everywhere, but that's like, you know, the added bonus that you're going to be a huge favorite in the game. So go out there, and the most important thing if you play on that show is just play your game. Like, people are always, you know, asking, what should I do? It's my first time playing in the World Series. My first time playing on TV. It's my first time. Like, just play the game that got you there. Like, just commit more than anything mentally to being like, I'm going to play my style. And if I lose, at least I went down swinging. Because if you lose playing someone else's style, you're just going to feel bad. If you lose playing your own style, at least you brought your A game. And so that's always what I try and tell myself. That's my mental talk, is just to play my own game. And whether it's, you know, a 100K buy-in tournament or like the main event or a high stakes game in Macau, like, I just always try and just go with my gut, you know, play my own game.
Did you see where they legalized sports betting?
Yeah, saw that.
Do you think that's good for poker, good for online poker maybe in the future?
I mean, it can't be bad, but, you know, I'm not the best to ask about like the ramifications of this long term, you know?
Right.
So
yeah, I think it's really dangerous, like, for people. Like, I've struggled with the sports gambling problem.
Yeah, I remember that from last time.
And it's dangerous for people. Like, people are going to be losing. I mean, that's why sports betting, people lose, you know, like in the pits, blackjack. That shit's there because you lose at it.
Yeah, totally.
I think it's dangerous for people, but I think it's good for poker because it's going to bring more people to the casino. I think maybe down the road they'll legalize online poker again.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I know a lot of people out there watching are rooting for that. So.
But I think that's pretty interesting that happened.
Yeah. All right, man.
I gotta stay away from the sports book and that dumb shit. So
please do. You're in a great spot, man. And as always, you know, keep in touch on Instagram. You know, you're in a great spot. I love to see that you're in a positive headspace. You're doing everything right. Like, just keep going through those motions when you're losing. If you ever comes to that, I hope it never does. But if, you know, you ever find yourself in a downswing, just take time off, be patient, you know, remember that it's a marathon, not a sprint, and best of luck at the World Series. I think qualifying for the main is really smart, playing a $500 satellite, you know, smart, getting staked, smart, selling actions, smart. Just be patient, man, and hope to see you at the final table of the main.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hopefully you see me on TV. I appreciate you and all your help.
You got it, man. Take it easy, bud. All right, guys, that is it for this episode of Ask Alec. I hope you liked this episode. If you have questions you'd like me to answer here or be a guest on the show in future episodes, click the link below and submit your question to me via email. I will pick the best ones. I'll get in touch with you guys, and I'm happy to answer your questions here in future episodes. Subscribe to my channel. Click up here if you like this video. More awesome content coming your way at Conscious Poker, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.